Love chatting about spiritual awakening? Want to learn more about connecting with source energy and allowing the universe to act on your behalf? Well, grab a beverage and welcome in the weekend with Lindsay every Friday from 7 to 8 p.m. on her show, Card Pulls and Coffee, as she channels messages from the divine realm or chats with a guest. Lindsay is a mindset coach, intuitive channel, and energy clearing practitioner. If you're feeling stagnant, overwhelmed, or full of self-doubt, Lindsay will guide you to come back to remembering who you really are. Join Lindsay here on WLFE DB Radio.
Hello, beautiful Facebook world, WLFEDB world, all of the places this is streaming to. My name is Lindsay. I am so happy to be here with you on this beautiful Friday night. Thank you for joining tonight. I was just raving about how fabulous StreamYard is, which it is, but for some reason, something's glitchy happening with the comments where before I'd be able to pull them up and post them. But now, like I see Moosey has already commented, but I don't see it on this. So just a heads up, I'm going to be watching on my phone. My beautiful speaker, I'm sure, will be watching a little bit on her end, but make sure, post a couple times in the comments section. I'd love to pull you a card. I'd love to pull you into our conversation. We're going to be talking about mindset. And really, I felt called to entitle the show tonight, The Alchemy of Mindset, because from my background and our guest speaker's background, I really feel like we both really acknowledge the power of the mind. I would say we both consider ourselves mindset focused, but we also understand that there's so much involved in this. It's energy, it's emotional, it's physical, it's spiritual. For me personally, I am going so much more into the subconscious, and all day long, love all of the consciousness we can put into our work. That is something we can focus on, of course, but there's so much beneath the surface in terms of protection mechanisms, in terms of trauma, in terms of emotional stagnation, energy blocks, all of those things. So I am wildly excited to get into this conversation. As always, I have no idea what we are besides that, I have no idea what we're going to talk about. I just allow Source to really lead the way with this. Thank you to WLFEDB, as always, for hosting the show. Go to their Facebook page, follow them, like them. Let me pop the banner. There it is. Check them out. Like the YouTube page. Say hello if you're watching from the YouTube page, all of that goodness. And then, of course, I have a free Facebook group, Rock Your Fear, and Like Picture Perfect Mind on Facebook to stay in touch with me. All the good things, all of the coaching, the getting into where you are currently and why you're coming up against that perceived roadblock, why you're coming up against, it feels like the invisible wall. It feels like there's something stopping you from truly reaching your fullest potential. You know your potential, you know your essence, you know your power internally. You've always had it. It's who you are, have been, and always will be, but there's something blocking you from taking that next step. That's why I am here. That's why I am here to guide you as best as I possibly can through all of my modalities, and just a pleasure to be with you tonight. So with that being said, I do as best as I possibly can. Excuse me. Yeah, Moosey, you can go on YouTube, WLFEDB, and you should be able to find their YouTube page. So that's where that's streaming. And if you go to WLFEDB.com, we should be streaming live there. And then there's reruns on that site. So with all of that being said, now I would like to welcome my beautiful guest, Ranetha. Hello.
Oh, hello. Hello.
How are you, my
Oh
love?
my, oh my goodness, so good. I love that we get to connect like this, because of course it's 9 a.m. for me right now and it's 7 p.m. for you. It's just, isn't technology amazing?
I say it all the time. It's this love-hate relationship, but it's an energy. That's all it
Absolutely.
is. It's an energy, and there's endless potential for it. It's just it can be used in all sorts of ways.
Absolutely.
It's so cool.
Isn't it? I'm so excited to be here with you.
Well, good morning to you and anyone that's watching on your side of the world. Good morning.
Absolutely.
So, okay, I want
Hmm.
to really settle in. You have such a wonderful grounding energy, and I love it all the time. It's so good. But I want to start by talking about how you began on your journey into this work, into whatever you would define it as: spiritual development, empowerment, mindset, coaching, healing. What
Mm.
started you there?
If we go back to where I first started, I was working very corporate. So my background is I'm actually a chartered accountant, and then I went from being a chartered accountant to working in an international firm, global business. That every firm I've worked at has been a global business, um, like $23 billion worth of like global business, and I went into being a recruitment business partner, a talent acquisition partner, and um, it was at my very lowest of lows where I was working probably 80 to 90 hours a week. I was not happy with where I was. My whole world was work and I wasn't enjoying work. And, I loved in the back of my mind, I had grown up in this mindset of you've got to grow up, go to university, get that great job, and I did that. Like I had 3 internships, I had a graduate job, I was making good money, and I was so unfulfilled and just so burnt out. I was dating Mr. Personality of our office at the time, and it was just bad. And
Yeah.
one of the companies I was at was very work hard, play hard culture. So we'd
Right.
work 80 hours a week and then go out and drink. And in like a span of 1 year, I think I gained about 15 kilos. And I was just so unhappy and really, really not like in a great place. And I was just like, I couldn't even fathom a life outside of this. I had thought that I
Mm,
was a failure and this was where I
mm,
was I was destined, like, oh, people work and it's hard and this is how it is because I've
right.
seen my family working really hard to make money. I've seen other people working really hard to make money. And a friend actually invited me to this thing like this weekend that she was at this self development course. And I had seen her from the Friday and then saw her again on Monday and went, whoa, what has happened? She went from being really quiet and like really small to being like really big, shoulders back, walking through the office. And I was like, what has happened with you? Whatever
Total
has happened with
transformation.
you, all this transformation. And I went, and the first time it was this course called Landmark, and it was all around like mindset and the way you communicate and being able to pick up like different elements of creation of stories. And I was like, what? We get to be allowed to decide what we're doing and what? Like it just, and I signed up straight away. And from there, like it was this whole cascade of going mindset work, embodiment work, sexuality work,
Wow.
energetics work, hypnotherapy, like all the things. Like it really, I can't even tell you who I was before because it was someone that was so stuck but
Yeah.
didn't know that I was stuck, didn't know that I was on this hamster wheel, didn't know that there was a life that was so free, that was so open, that was so um, there was so much more to life than working and being unhappy. I thought that I was destined to be unhappy for the next 40 years of my life,
Yeah.
or the next 50 years of my life,
Yeah.
and going, oh, okay, like I just have to get used to this.
Right.
And not even knowing that there were these stories that were blocking me from going, oh, I can have a life of freedom and a life of desire and make more money and have more fun and actually be free to express what I want to be.
I have so many goosebumps right now. I mean, the amount that I can relate to that. And I wasn't working 80-hour days, but just the stories of, I guess this is it. I guess this is it. And I might as well accept where I am. And looking at generational things and looking at my parents and looking at my grandparents. And that's all that I even have knowledge of, really. But beyond that, I'm sure it's that concept of 7 generations prior to us where we're really taking on all of the energy of that. And it's so true. At the end of the day, thoughts create our belief system because they're thought so much. But it's also, I mean, we can talk more about it, but it goes beyond thought. It goes into our actual DNA. And then that forms our reality. And then all of a sudden we're in this dense world where that's where we think we have to end up. And it's so empowering. And the moment that, even if there's just a glimpse, like a glimmer of, wait a second, there might be something else. That's huge.
Yeah. Just, I think right now where I'm at is going, wow, like I wish everyone could wake up to realize that there's so much more in the world than they think is possible, than they know is possible, because you don't know what you don't know. And until someone else around shows you that path, it's like, oh, that's available. That's available. Like you were saying, like, until you see that glimmer, it's like, oh, there's not even this imaginative. I think what's been happening and what I kind of see is people get stuck in boxes of like who they think they're meant to be and who they think they need to be and what they need to replicate. And it really depends on who like is in your environment, you know, how you grow up, what your family is like, who your role models are for you to be able to break through. But some people never do. And some people do, some people rebel against and they're known as a black sheep, and other people, yeah, it's an interesting one. Like I just go into, oh, let's help wake up the world so that they know that everything is possible for them and they can create their own realities.
That's why I feel truly like I'm here. Hi, Jess. Hi, Brooke, if you're still watching. Anyone that's watching now, say hello in the comments section for us so we know you're here. But that's truly what I feel in my energy of myself, that I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I don't know exactly how I'm going to make my impact. I know I'm making an impact already. I know that I have helped people and I've helped myself, and there's all of this that's percolating and changing, and I don't know how it's all going to drop in, but I know that's why I'm here. That's what I'm here to do. And I just keep reminding myself that as long as you're taking steps towards connection and allowing everyone to see their truest essence and allowing everyone to see the possibilities, not forcing, just sharing through your own actions and sharing through your own life as much as you possibly can, that I'm doing my job. That's what I pretty much came to the conclusion of, because there still is, I'm doing so much work around just really bringing awareness into stories and internal dialogue, which is what I've always done, but it just feels like there's this second wave now where I'm doing that more again, where it's kind of like, oh, I forgot about that, and you come back to it and it's more powerful than ever. But these limiting beliefs of it has to look exactly like this, and I have to make this much money, and I have to do it this way, and if it's not successful in X amount of time, then I'm failing. And with each level of newness, it's like some new limiting beliefs come out. But the more I just bring awareness to them, it's like there's no truth to that. The only truth is when I allow it to exist without looking at it, and I allow it to start creating my reality.
Absolutely. It's so interesting, the whole concept of failure. Like I remember like working corporate, and I had really high KPIs for everything. Like when I was an accountant, I had to put down like electronically, but to be able to bill clients, we would bill time as per every 6 minutes. So every 6 minutes was accounted for.
And with that mentality,
it's so tough. And like, if I'm not billing a certain amount of hours, it's failure. If when I was in recruitment, when I was in an agency, you know, our recruitment agencies are sales spaces. So our product is people at the time. And, come on. And yeah, if I wasn't meeting enough clients, if I wasn't speaking to enough candidates, if I wasn't meeting enough candidates and interviewing them, that was failure.
right.
And I was conditioned into believing I needed to meet these targets or I was a failure. When in fact, there is no such thing as failure, because there's what is perfect, and it's all feedback. It's all learning. It's all how can we improve? How can we get better? How can we take that next step to where we want to be, as opposed to going, oh, you failed, let's put you on performance management, which is generally what happens in a lot of organizations and a lot of corporates. And that's where I'm so passionate about dismantling that and going, okay, like how can we actually run organizations in a stronger way, in a better way, in a way that actually helps flourish people and helps people grow, and people that want to move out of corporate, it's like, oh, there's possibilities for that. I think there's this realization that like we take on so much unconsciously. You know, it's 5% of things that we actually see, feel, hear is actually an unconscious mind, and 95% of the way we behave and the way we are, the way we see things, hear things, is unconscious, and
Right.
things that we've taken on, right? Like 11 billion bits of information come at us every second, and we take on, I think it's like 148, 100, and it's so in comparison, it's not a lot.
Right.
So it's like when we're driving along a road and you're looking at, you know, right in front of you, and you can see the path in front of you, but you're passing all these trees, all these cars, all these people. Like your unconscious your conscious can't take in everything, but we're unconsciously taking in everything. So
It's so interesting, and this is what I really want to talk about, is what you just went through in terms of your training and stuff as well. I'm listening to, obviously, Rhonda Byron Burns, writer of The Secret. That's what really started me, as I know many people, on this discovery journey of spirituality, law of attraction, all that goodness. She wrote a book more recently called The Greatest Secret, and it's a really beautiful transmission on Audible. I've been telling a lot of people about it just because it's everything I know cognitively. I could teach it, I could give presentations on it, I talk about it with my clients, but the actual transmission is beautiful. And it's really opening my eyes. But at one part, one of the teachers that she's featuring talks about the Empire State Building and is talking about how we might all look at the Empire State Building in New York City and see a building, see something in particular, see the building, see how tall it is. But what does a fruit fly see? What does a bird see? And how everything in this universe is space. And it was so mind-boggling. I mean, we could go in circles and go down the rabbit hole, but it was mind-boggling to think about not only perspective, but like atoms and molecules and how things are made up. And then, like you said, all of that information somehow gets into our consciousness and the subconscious. Wild.
Absolutely wild. Oh my God. It's actually my favorite word as well. I was talking to someone yesterday
Really?
about wild. Yeah. I'll have to talk to you about that offline. I love that word.
That's
My friends
hysterical
tease
because
me
I
and
haven't.
sing wild strawberries every time I say wild. I say it all the
I
time.
I have not been saying it, so I totally took that on. Oh my gosh. Jessica Rogers, you're crying. Are you crying tears of happiness, or are you
Oh.
crying because you relate to us, my love? So I want to talk a bit, if you'd like to. First of all, what's your website? Because I want to put it on one of these banners so people can reach out to you.
My website is ranethaperera.com. It is going through a bit of an upgrade because if you look at my website, it's right before I shaved my head. So this whole look, this whole way of being is quite new, and I'm just in the process of redeveloping the website and relaunching the website. But put the website in, please.
But it's how I feel all the time, and I think we've discussed this perhaps, but I have an open identity in human design, so I feel like I'm always evolving my branding, and I don't want to use the word struggle, but almost like feeling disconnected. And for me personally, I've had to drop it a little bit just to allow, okay, what is intended to come through. So I feel that. I love your hair. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you. Me too. And this is another part of going, okay, how can I be? Like, I want to shake my head, and for a long time I didn't, because it wasn't a possibility. And for anyone listening that the story, like, I've probably wanted to do this for about 5 years or 6 years, and I was asked in a car ride with another peer of mine, Danny, and we were just driving. Yeah, really good friend of mine, and he was just like, "Oh, like all these things about being outrageous," and I was like, "I've never looked outrageous. I've been doing outrageous things, but I've never looked outrageous." And I've had this desire to shave my head for the last few years, but everything always comes up. I have weddings, I have events, I have presentations, I have things I need to do. And he was like, "Well, do you want to shave it tomorrow?" And I was like, "What? But what would people think? Like, I've got to lose 10 kilos, my boobs are really big, I've got broad shoulders, or my face look really fat." And I sat with it and went, these aren't even my thoughts. Like, why am I blocking myself from doing the things that I want? Like, whose thoughts are these? It's everything and everyone that I've been surrounding myself with. Because if I actually wanted to do the thing I wanted to do, what does it matter about anyone else? And so we did it. And like, I was a bit of a skinhead with a mohawk for about a month. And that was actually really cool. Like, I actually loved it when we first shaved it and was like, wow, I look really badass. And we did it on the, and the amount of comments, like, it was so beautiful, and I'm so grateful that we did it on a Facebook Live, because people got to see my transformation of going, I don't know if this is the right thing. And then halfway through, me having shorter and shorter hair, because I had hair until here.
Right.
Blonde curly hair, and going, wow, I feel really powerful. And so the amount of messages from women that I received, and the amount of messages that Danny received, was just wild to think that, so many messages of how brave it was, how courageous it was, how big it was, and how they wish that they could do it, but they can't. And I was like, it's so possible for you. And then also seeing about 5 or 6 other like women shaving their heads or cutting their hair really short. And I was like, oh, this was a thing. Like, they just needed to see someone doing it. And this is what I mean. We don't even realize how influential we are.
No, because there's so many people that didn't comment, that didn't write to you, that, I mean, it blows my mind all of the time. And that's what I truly try to remind myself when I'm feeling disempowered, or I'm feeling discouraged, or feeling like things aren't flowing as quickly as I would like them to. You're impacting people the moment you walk through the door in the morning. That sends a ripple effect out into the world. If you smile at someone, you pass them on the street. That's the butterfly effect. And that's so powerful.
People don't even realize. And that's where, like, they what I see is so devastating is people see themselves so small and that they don't impact a room when they walk in. They don't make a difference. It's like, no, every single person makes a difference. What is your genius and how can we pull that out so that you can give that to the world, to yourself as well? And we were talking about the unconscious mind and where that blocks. And this is where I know I love working with, and I know you love working with as well.
Let's talk about it.
Because it's where because people, like, I feel like it's not something that's really commonly spoken about. And if you start moving into self-development world, yeah, it is, but also still not, because it's still about like create your reality, do the affirmations. What do you want to do? Put it on a vision board. And the thing is, you can do everything. You can put down affirmations, you can create a vision board. However, if you don't look at what's there that is stopping you from taking action, that will always trump. Like when your conscious mind and unconscious mind go to do something, if your unconscious mind doesn't want to do it, your unconscious mind will win. It will create this self-sabotaging pattern. It will create these blockages. It will create you stopping for every single reason under the sun, because what it's really there for is to store memories. Like the prime directives of the unconscious mind is to store memories, organizes all your memories. So putting it into a filing cabinet, then if there are any negative emotions or negative memories my Siri's coming up, going into repressing the memories and going, okay, well, we can't deal with these negative emotions right now because you don't have the resources, and going into and then sometimes when we do feel really good, sometimes these negative memories come back and negative emotions come back, and that's when they get brought up to be dealt with because we have the resources. But it's really there to run the body and preserve the body. So everything that your unconscious mind does, even when you're stopped to do something, it's there to try and keep you safe.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. That is just so profound. I love how I always feel like in my life, whether I'm about to have a conversation like this or anything, it's like something drops in prior. And so the other day, so I've told this story online, but I don't know if you've seen it or not, but I essentially in my email had 10,000, actually 11,000 emails from all the way back to 2011. And most of them were open, but they were all sitting in my Gmail, and it was really, really, really overwhelming me. I kept coming back to, this is energy band, this is a load on my back where I feel like I'm missing emails. I feel like I'm not getting back to people. I feel like this is truly taking up space, and I feel so disorganized. And something kept saying, okay, do it, go through the email. But there was something that was this is unsafe. We need to avoid, we need to procrastinate, we need to do everything else under the sun. We need to pull another card. We need to do another meditation. And I came across this course on Udemy that was just using a pendulum to be able to access the, is there a difference between the subconscious and the unconscious mind, or is it the same?
Slightly different, but we can refer to them as the same right now. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And so I accessed it through the pendulum, and he explained how your subconscious is tricky and it might try to tell you something else and all of these things. But within about 2 hours, I had gone into my subconscious, and I had identified that I was afraid of getting into trouble. I had identified exactly at what age that had happened. I had identified who made me feel that way. I cried. And this all happened. I completed the course in 2 hours. I utilized emotional energy healing from the spiral. Clear it, and I went through all of those emails in the next 24 hours.
Wow. Just like that. And the shifts, right?
So that to me is so insane. And I'm being so drawn to hypnotherapy right now. So I want to talk more about that because I know you just went through a training, and it just is this whole other I mean, it's mind-blowing. It's so funny to say that because it has to do with the mind, but it's truly mind-blowing to think about how much is really being controlled through those protection mechanisms that are stored there, that are really trying to help us, but are hindering us from going after what we really want.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, like you went through this process and realized, oh, I don't want to be in trouble. And all of a sudden, like you were able to wipe through, 11,000 emails, which is mind blowing in itself that there's that much, because it is like everywhere that we hold energy. And I'm doing it right now with my closet going, I need to let go of this, because they're all just energy leaks. Anywhere that we have extra things that we could declutter, like even our fridge, our room, any books, any clutter in your drawers, getting rid of that so that you have the energetic space to breathe and to move. And it can be as simple as that. Like so many people take on these emotions, take on these beliefs, and they get stored and filed away. And we don't do the things that we want to do because of these small beliefs that we've taken on as children. Like, I don't want to get in trouble. Oh, I can't do that right now. I need to do other work. Oh, I need to do this. Or one of mine that held me back for a long time is that I don't want to be humiliated. So I'm never going to put my hand up for something that I don't know what the end goal is. So I would always wait to go last when I was speaking. In teams, I wouldn't put my hand up to do, I did Mount Everest after I found this thing out, because I'm like, oh, I want to try that out. Whereas before it was never possible, because it's like, oh, I can't do that. Oh, like, what would that be like for me? And they're all there, like, to keep us safe. There's been something that has happened that in our life, in past lives, this could be passed down genealogically through generations. There's been something that's happened that, like, there's a trauma in our system. And sometimes we don't even realize what it is. It's in our blind spot. And I love hypnotherapy. So I've just done a master practitioner course in that. I'm doing more in that in September as well. And how I like to look at it is going, like, people think of hypnotherapy as, what are those shows on TV where they get you on stage and they get you there, they do that, and then they make you quack like a duck and bark like a dog, whereas it's actually not that. Like, when you're doing hypnotherapy, you can do self-hypnosis as well.
Absolutely.
It's really powerful to do it with someone too, and going, like, feel held, because you'd be surprised. I remember the first time I did, I'm like, I'm not getting hypnotized. I'm not, like, feeling anything. Whereas it's actually, you feel this state of relax, and actually you're still in control. It's the concept I like looking at is, think about going into a club and there's a bouncer in the club and they're not letting you in. What hypnotherapy does is distracts the bouncer over, so that then the person that is, like, working with you can speak to your unconscious mind, get you through the doors into that club, and also bring some good stuff. And, like, this is where I love working with people and putting in, like, really positive statements and positive beliefs and things that they want to do. So then their unconscious mind hears it and takes it in, instead of being blocked by this bouncer.
Yes.
And that's all with consent, and that's all with whatever the client's looking for. But that's the purpose, and that's where hypnotherapy can be utilized for such good things. Because when we take on habits like smoking, or when we do things that are addictive, or when we put off things and have phobias, they're all constructed within our mind and our neural pathways. We create these internal representations of these past behaviors or past events happening, and then we go, oh, like, one of my friends had a phobia and he just didn't like using wooden forks. Like, he just was like, I can't do it. And I was watching this process with him in our class and going, cool, like, by the end of it, like, creating a new neural pathway for him, he was able to, like, not just, like, use it, but, like, lick it and be like, oh, okay. Whereas before it would just, like, make him feel icky. And another one of our friends who had, I don't actually know what a disability is, but when she's nervous, she gets, like, her body is gets into this like contracted state of like not being able to focus on her, not being able to speak, and in a way that she would like to. And we watched how like rewiring the brain, creating new images of what possibilities could look like, absolutely changed her in the span of an hour. So by the end of it, she was on stage, she was speaking to us really confidently, standing still, whereas before that, like whenever she was nervous or afraid, her body would go into this contraction where she wouldn't be able to stay still, where she would be moving forward, moving back, and it was uncontrollable for her.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas being like, and that's the strength of our mind, it controls everything. And we've created these pathways, these neural programming systems where it just, they're there for protection, and also sometimes we can move past it as well.
Right.
Like they're not stuck ways that we need to be forever. We can choose now to be like, okay, who do we want to be? What do we want to be like? And what do we want to model and create that?
And it's so powerful. It's because I think about, okay, I'm going to pause for a moment just because I'm going to do a quick commercial. We are speaking with Ranetha Perera today. She is all of the things. You call yourself now an emotional alchemy coach or all the things?
All the things. So what I'm actually doing at the moment, it's more mindset coaching, using emotional clearing as well around working with women, healing their stories around success so that they can have better relationships, make more money, and have greater impact in the world.
Boom. I love that. I love it.
Yeah, it's great.
It's amazing. So this is who we are chatting with today. Hello to everyone. Thank you, Moosey. We're getting compliments on our beauty. Thank you guys so much.
Oh, thank you.
My husband, Josh, is watching. Hi, Josh. I'm just going to start a commercial and then we'll be back. And I want to talk more about, I really want to talk about just because I think I want to talk more about how am I trying to say this? Like when you go to a motivational coach or a motivational speech and you feel differently when you leave, I want to talk about the different elements that go into that, because that is clearly incredibly transformational, right? But I feel like the work that you do beyond that is truly what creates the long-lasting change.
Absolutely.
So I'll let that simmer for a second and we'll be back to chat more.
Perfect. Amazing.
WLFE-DB.com, where you can find vodcast shows, podcasts, and more. So go check out WLFE-DB.com, where talk radio is a whole lot better. Our shows are your shows, and that there makes for a great talk radio.
WLFE-DB Radio is on Spotify with all its great shows like Across the Pond, Inside the Drag Closet, Step into the Paranormal, Just Cindy, Where's My Sage, Unfiltered Talks with Bryce, Metal Mayhem ROC, Paratalk Radio, Real Talk with Dom, and more. So download the Spotify app today to stay connected to all your WLFE-DB radio shows.
Join us at WLFE-DB.com for upcoming shows and so much more. Like and follow us on Facebook at WLFE-DB Radio.
Well, hello there, kids. Have you started watching Inside the Drag Closet, the interactive vodcast where we talk about all things drag and some things that aren't? Well, you should. You can join us every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on WLFE-DB Radio. We hope to see you then. See you, kids!
Hey guys and dolls, this is Casey DeVille, the better half of DeVille Inc., Baltimore, Maryland. If you're ever in Baltimore, stop in and see me and Tony. Invisible Brie, 5920 Eastern Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland, 21224. Give us a call if you're in the area at 410-400-9641, or look us up on the web at DeVilleInc.com. DeVille Inc., where we specialize in you.
Merch? Did someone say merch? Oh, yeah. Life just got sweeter now that WLFE-DB has merchandise. Show your support by purchasing your t-shirts for WLFE, Paratalk Radio, Inside the Drag Closet, and more. But it doesn't stop there. T-shirts, coffee mugs, tanks, buttons, cloth bags, and more. Go to WLFE-DB.com. On the top bar, click on the merchandise tab and bam, there you go. You're listening to WLFE DB Radio. Now back to our program.
Hello, we are back. Everyone who's watching. Hello, we are with Ranetha Perera tonight. I love saying your name. It's just like,
I know, my middle names are quite Spanish, like I'm Sri Lankan background, but my middle names are Natalia Therese. So just people are like, where are you from? What are you doing? It's like,
yes.
I don't know. I've just been very blessed.
I love it. It's so sexy. Oh, okay. Okay, let's see. Hello, other Jessica. Okay, Jessica. Have you ever heard of, yes. Okay, this is amazing that you're mentioning this to me, Jessica. Have you ever heard of Dolores Cannon and her technique, quantum healing and beyond quantum healing, that works with the conscious and subconscious mind? Yes, I have. I don't know if you have, Ranetha.
I haven't specifically, not Dolores, no.
As she is able to tap further into subconscious and connect with divine entities that give messages to the answers we can't get answered in the conscious mind. Yes, so she is, I've watched some of her things on YouTube and it's really fascinating. And she's older now. Her entire career has been to take people into hypnosis and ask them about why they're here and what, not only going through past lives, but really, why are you here at this time? And the answer is always, this is the time to be here. This is the time where the world is elevating and essentially bringing, not in an apocalyptic way, but as many souls as possible to be elevated to a state of enlightenment, but no one's getting left behind. It's more of like everyone's choice, the soul's choice to come along. It's really cool. It also talks about how the world, like our Earth, is the densest vibrational planet. Like so anyone that comes here is incredibly brave. I'm like, okay, cool.
That's amazing. That's an amazing way to think about that, isn't it?
It is.
Right.
I love listening to different teachers and just hearing the what am I'm thinking of, like, what's the word I'm thinking of? Their perspective. Their format, because
their transmission
overlaps onto everything else.
And that's the thing, because everything that everyone does, especially in the coaching field, it's all to get you to that place of being the best version of yourself and doing things in a way that feel really good for you, that you can step up, that you can take on your power, that you can live your truth and do the things like that you're desiring to do. You know, if it's making more money, if it's having more impact, if it's having better relationships, if it's taking on the world, if it's creating these amazing not-for-profits, like it's whatever you want to do. But sometimes we have, like, there are instances where different teachers will land for us, because everyone, no matter everyone, like we've learned the same thing around spiral, but the way we teach it would be so different because of our past experiences and our life history, and where we've been in our environments and how we relate to the world.
Right.
So the way we teach is so different, although we have the same modalities. And even when I was talking to friends that, you know, they've done NLP or hypnotherapy or Reiki or energetics or human design, like the way that we explain any of it is so different.
I love that. Because I also think another one of the limiting beliefs that comes through for us is I don't know enough. And I always try to come from a space of, am I aligned with this? Is this the next step? Do I know enough, but also am I explaining it correctly? Am I going to be good enough at this? And the bottom line is, it's a yes if you are emotionally and energetically aligned with it, if you're doing it for the right reasons, and if you're investing in yourself with it, you will know enough. It's that limiting belief that compares us to others and says they've done more. It's wild to overcome all of that.
Absolutely.
My new word.
Take it on. I love it. Those limiting beliefs that you've just put on, like, they're so powerful in stopping so many people, and myself included, for such a long time. For so long, I was thinking about, I don't know enough. I compare myself to my mentors. I compare myself to people that have been in the space for 10 years, or people that are, 10, 20 years in front of me, going, oh, how can I be like them? How can I do anything? And it's like, actually, like, if you realized how powerful you were, and if you realized what you knew, and if you realize that you have skills that no one else does, it would just make such a difference. It would catapult you into being the version of yourself that is really fully expressed, that is really confident, that walks into a room that that there's a way of being that you're so grounded, and that you can step foot being in this way of going, I've got me, I've got myself, as opposed to being like, oh, like, am I okay versus this person, or like comparing yourself to everyone else, because that doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help anyone.
It's so interesting that it goes back to, I always remind myself, it goes back to tribal instincts. It goes back to, I have to be accepted by everyone, whether that's childhood or even biologically, our parasympathetic nervous system protecting our sympathetic nervous system protecting us from, like, I am going to be left out in the cold with absolutely no one, and I'm going to die. And that's a whole other conversation on doing work with the fear of death, and starting to do clearing around that has been really interesting for me to come down to that. Like, I'm a Scorpio, I can deal with death. Let's die and come on, death is nothing. It's all good. It's a part of everything. Okay, so now I want to talk about, here's my question for you. If someone goes into seeing a motivational speaker, and maybe it's one of us, and you're in that crowd, you're feeling all the energy, you're feeling all the good vibes, you walk out, you're like, I'm going to change my life. What are some of the elements there where maybe you leave and some of that wears off, and you're not able to really implement that in the day-to-day? What, obviously working one-on-one with someone like us would be incredibly beneficial, but what are all the elements that go into play with that?
Going into spaces where they're designed, like, it's almost like taking you out into a liminal space where you're taken out of your environment, put into a space where speakers are wanting to give to you and wanting to expand your boundaries of what is possible within your mind. And that's what happens, because a lot of the times you get pushed into being like, oh, this person, whatever you're wanting or desiring when you hear motivational speakers, like, oh, it's possible to leave my job and be happy. Oh, it's possible to make $10,000 a month. Oh, it's possible to travel the world with ease. Oh, it's possible to speak on stages with Tony Robbins and Les Brown. And people go, oh, I can do that. Oh, like I could start a business on the side. And those spaces are really powerful because they push against your internal boundaries. And then what can happen sometimes is that we go back home, and depending on who we're around, again, the environment dictates so much. Like you can go back into old patterns and ways of being. And if you don't have support, and if you don't have people around you that are, helping you in that next step, and if you don't have that hunger or drive because you're being brought down, that's where people can go into old ways of being and like not doing the things.
Right.
What I always say is like, okay, whatever you're going to, write down like things that you're going to do straight away and put them in your diary and start implementing. Because what our unconscious mind will do is like give you evidence of how you're succeeding and how you're doing the things, and create a vision and a reason why you're doing the things as well, and a reason that is so big and so powerful that even on your hardest days where you don't want to wake up and do the thing, you'll want to do the thing because you have such a strong reason as to why. A few years ago, I made a goal for myself that I wanted to impact and reach 1 million women and help them around their self-love and self-worth and self-power. And I forgot that for a little bit. And then reminding myself again, I'm like, oh, of course I want to be in this field. Of course I want to go forward. Of course I want to speak more, because my mission isn't just about me. It's about other people. And everyone has their own mission, if it's their family, if it's whatever it may be. It doesn't need to be impacting 1 million people. It could be, I want to have the best family in the world. I want to, be successful and be the best in this. I want to have a really easeful life. Like whatever it is for you, it means it. I'm going to say it makes a difference. Whatever it is that makes a difference to you, like make it make a difference. So where it gets easier is if you are working with a coach. I mean, imagine if you had someone that was backing you, that was able for you to speak to them and them to be able to go hold you in the highest regard of who you see yourself as, because sometimes people forget who they really are and they get diminished into like who they think they are versus you are a powerful human. And then like for that coach to be able to kind of help with any limiting beliefs and move through any emotional blockages. I mean, we're not saying you need to work with us at all. However, how much has it helped for like you and myself to work with coaches and to work with people and to be supported on our goals and on our mission, even when we don't want to do something. It's like we know that we're stepping forward, and we know that we're stepping into that place of what we're desiring and where we're wanting to go to and what we're wanting to create. Some people think that, like for you, Lindsay, I'm sure that you wouldn't have thought a year or two ago that you would be running these live streams like in this way and creating, making such a difference and impact. Right. Things change so rapidly when we decide and when we choose to and when we have the support around us. And people are like, yes, 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 I see your vision. Like, let me support you as well with that. I think the biggest thing is having that support network, having like mentors and coaches, because even coaches have coaches. I have coaches. I'm sure you do as well.
Yep.
We're not like, even on my worst days, even though I coach people and I coach humans to be successful, sometimes I need that motivation and I need that push. And there's like at every single level of success, even Tony Robbins has people that he surrounds himself with. And some of my mentors are in group chats with him, and he will write in there, it's like, oh, was that okay, that presentation? And he makes like $800 million. At every level of success, there are fears and there are doubts. And yes, we can get through them quickly and we can get through them faster and faster the more that we allow ourselves to step into these fields of being and being okay. And, there is no such thing as failure, only feedback. And having like that support and reassurance sometimes can elevate us, and it's the speed that it can elevate us in.
Yeah. Because that's so true. And that's what I say all the time. That's why I have the group Rock Your Fear, because it's not about eradicating our fear fully. It's an essential part about being human. But I love the concept of we don't let it hold us. We don't let it run the show for forever. If we need to feel the feels, absolutely feel the feels, cry it out. Like, let yourself allow the emotion to move through you, but we don't stay stuck for days, weeks, months, years to wake up and say, I just let all of this time go by because I was too afraid, because I allowed myself to stay stuck in the limiting belief, because I didn't want to spend the money to hire a coach, or I didn't want to go to therapy, or I just didn't let myself have the possibility of any level of success. And another thing that I reminded myself of today, though, while that was a serious statement, I just had this knowledge that, because oftentimes regret will come up for me as an emotion, or looking at time. And today I was like, every single decision, moment, day maybe that I wasn't as productive as I wanted to be, procrastination, turn, be purpose I didn't want to make, or a person that I shouldn't have spoken to, whatever the regret story tells me, it's all led me to here. And every single decision that I will make moving forward, it doesn't matter what it is, it's going to lead me to where I am ultimately supposed to be. And that, it was just like relief. Just like, whoa, that's so cool that I just figured that out.
It's a big one.
It's all good. We put so much pressure on ourselves and we think we're helping ourselves, but it's actually another limiting belief story. And most likely it's a parental figure or a figure of authority that is coming through internally that we don't even realize it. So the more we just bring the awareness in and the love and the compassion, that ebbs away and we can succeed.
Exactly. Letting go of the past and being able to really take on everything that has happened in the past was there for a reason. And I'm going to actually give you another one because I appreciate what you've just said around like everything that's happened in the past has led me to right here. On a quantum physics level, if you look at it that way, going, okay, like the butterfly effect, if we were to go back in our lives and amend one thing, it would change the whole course of our life, everything. So why can't we do that in the other way? So looking at the future, if we have a goal in mind and we take actions towards that goal, like every single day, we will be at that goal, because we've already decided that it's happening and our life is going towards that trajectory and everything in between is leading up to that end goal. It's like it's already happened. It's already been created. And now we're just living the life for that to be created. And that's where these blockages and unconscious things can stop us. And that's where, again, having people around that can help you see that and move that and speed you through that.
Yeah.
Being around people that have already achieved the things that you want to achieve, or listening in and being influenced by the people that you want to be influenced by instead of being in the past version of yourself. Change tables, be around different people, feel, and this is again where coaching is such a phenomenal thing, because you're around people that have the things that you want and that have the transmissions that you want. And when I started doing this, and it was tricky for me at first because I loved my family, I loved my friends, and I loved my colleagues, and I loved my life before. But when I started taking myself to be who do I want to be and where do I see myself, and started sitting on the same tables as my mentors that are 7-figure coaches that, have the life that I want to live. My mindset started changing. I started changing. I was able to go to trainings in different states, even during this virus period. I was able to change things that I was doing in my life because people around me, I'm a product of my environment, and I I'm motivated and supported and I have my goals, and every time that I'm stuck or have this thing, I can reach out to a mentor. I can reach out to a peer that does work, that I can be like, hey, what can you help me with this? I'm not able to move forward. And like that, like you're saying, it gets moved, it gets like put away. Like the story about you being in trouble. Like
Yes.
sometimes it can be something so small that is blocking us from taking that next leap.
Yep.
So that's where we see sometimes they're in our own blind spots, and we can see them, like we can do the work for it. And if you don't want to do the work yourself, that's where a coach is really supportive. Like that's what I found anyways. Like the last few years I've had a number of different coaches and a number of different programs, and going, cool, like how can I support myself in this, and how can I love myself in this? Yeah.
You deserve it. You deserve to have support.
We all do. We all do. Like,
yeah, it's so, we deserve to be pampered. We deserve to live the lives that we want to lead. We deserve to break generational norms and things that are holding us back. We deserve to feel good enough, all of the things. So I want to ask you, as we begin to wrap up, if someone is watching today or listening back to this and they're feeling a bit stuck, maybe it's a certain aspect of their life that they've been trying to adjust for a while, or they're just not sure, they're discouraged, what is a piece of advice that you would give to them right now?
If they're feeling discouraged,
stuck, discouraged, not sure where to go.
Not sure where to go. I would have them sitting down with themselves and like going into either a meditation or like having a shower, having a bath, wherever they feel really calm and relaxed, and allowing everything like space. Because the thing is, a lot of the times we know, it's just that we get full of noise, like from social media, TV, phones, like people around us, like there's always noise and people chattering around. And sometimes we actually need to come back to ourselves. If you're unsure of yourself and like, you know, your next step and you're like, oh gosh, I can't do it. One of my favorite things to share with people to do is like write down all the places, sit down and write down every single thing that you have accomplished, everything that you've moved through. And it could be things like, I started to ride a bike. I was able to learn how to like drive my car. And accomplishments, like it could be from your work as well, like where you're on time to all these things. People gave you these compliments for being this amazing speaker or doing this job really beautifully, and writing down things that you didn't think were possible that you overcame, like things that you overcame, accomplishments that you've received, and give yourself the evidence to know that things that you didn't think were possible became possible. And yeah, sit down with yourself and ask yourself in a space, what do I want to do next? Where do I want to go next? And usually like there's that intuition in your higher self, whatever you like to call it. Like some call it spirits, the higher self, your soul. Take time to have that relationship with yourself, because generally you know, it's just that we've been conditioned to think that we don't know.
Absolutely. And I have found as well that you don't, unless you really want to share or feel that intuition to share with a mentor, a respected friend, someone in the situation where they're either fully supportive of you and will elevate you, or they're where you want to go, have the conversations with yourself before sitting down with anyone else. Because that can also lead you back, like you said, or you leave the event and you're expanded, and maybe you share with someone and it's like, not because they're worse, it's just on a different vibe. It's a different vibration. So that's beautiful advice. I love it. And I love you. And I'm so grateful you came on the show today. Thank you so much.
I love you so much. Thank you for having me. It's been so fun just being able to connect and jam and talk all things. Like, I feel like we could talk about this for hours and hours and hours.
Yes, and we will,
It'd be so
because
easy to.
this is what I want to do. So we're going to do this more. And I'm also going to be doing more episodes on my podcast. And I just feel so inspired to connect with, I keep saying like vibed people.
I love that. Like vibe.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because we attract exactly who we are. So we're both reflections of ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is really cool.
I love it. Thank you so much, everyone who's watching. Thank you for watching. Make sure you connect with Ranetha. You can add her on Facebook. Go to her website. She's a spiral practitioner. She's trained in hypnotherapy, NLP. She's a mindset coach. She's fabulous. And I'm sure we'll be working together so much more. Have a beautiful rest of your day, night, wherever you are.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining Card Pulls and Coffee with Lindsay. Every episode is a joy sprung from a tree of life. We hope you'll join us next Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Remember to share and like and follow. Until next week, let the stars you follow keep you safe.
You've been listening to WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows.